Last year, a company with humble origins in Ayurveda reached a valuation of 1 lakh crores. The story traces back to the late 19th century when India was tormented by deadly diseases like cholera, malaria, and dengue. During this time, in 1884, a doctor named S.K. Burman, living in a small town in West Bengal, started crafting natural Ayurvedic formulations in his house. He bicycled from home to home, providing his remedies in poor rural areas. This man had a simple motive. He wanted to provide effective medicines to poor people in remote villages at an affordable cost. And with this simple motive, he wrote history. As the word of Dr. Burman's effective Ayurvedic formulation spread across the villages, so did the demand. In 1896, the Da of Doctor and Burr of Burman from his name merged and the legendary brand Dabour was born. Patanjali's playbook has been played hundreds of years before, and it was by Dabour, the OG Ayurveda brand. Dabour's growth story began in the early 20th century when Dr. Burman's son, C.L. Burman, expanded the company's operations beyond Kolkata. With the goal to bring Ayurveda to every corner of India, he set up new manufacturing units, research and development centers, and distribution networks that helped them reach a larger customer base. The Burman family faced some labor unrest in Kolkata while scaling their operations, due to which the full family and Dabour's headquarters were moved to Delhi. Kolkata's loss was Delhi's gain. In 1940, the company made a big decision to foray into the personal care market and introduced a range of personal care products such as Dabour Amla Hair Oil, Vatika, and Hajmola, which all became instant hits. These products, built on Ayurvedic principles, offered a unique and effective alternative to its chemical-first products. Here's a lesser-known fact about Dabour. In 1993, Dabour also entered the specialized healthcare of cancer treatment with its oncology formulation plant. In 2003, Dabour's pharma business was separated from Dabour's FMCG business and now runs as a separate independent entity. Dabour Pharma has developed some breakthrough technologies for cancer treatment. As Dabour's growth strategy continued to evolve, in 1990s, it sought to explore opportunities beyond India's borders. The company knew how to sell health supplements, hair oil, and tooth powder, but now they had diversified into unrelated areas. They were making chewing gum with Spanish company, snack foods with an Israeli company, and cheese with a French partner. This was a totally different ballgame altogether. So they brought the consulting firm McKinsey on board to help them out with the expansion. The very first question that McKinsey asked the management was, just because your last name is Burman, does that make you the most qualified to run this business? This put Dabour family in a conundrum and got them thinking. See, there's a saying that goes, hard times create strong men create good times, and good times create weak men. And the fourth generation of the Dabour family, which was now running the business, was born with a silver spoon. They knew they did not have what it takes to run the organization. Recognizing this, they made a groundbreaking decision. Professional, experienced managers would now run Dabour, and no Burman family member would draw salary from the company, but the members would collect their dividends and could build ventures outside of Dabour. At that time, they had 8 members across the 4th and 5th generations working at Dabour, and they all quit their executive positions almost overnight. Here's a very important lesson here. If you want to create a lasting institution and if you want to create wealth, you must have the right people in the right place in your company. See, a company's products and services may keep evolving, but it's your team and management that makes or breaks the organization. We at AV have also always realized this and made it a priority to find people who are best at their craft. There's no ego involved here. We want to be able to learn from other people's strengths, and that's the culture that we've been fostering here from the very beginning. You should always remember that your organization is only as strong as your weakest member. Dabour, to this day by the way, is reaping the benefits of the decision they took back in the 90s. Do you know how much money the international division of Dabour makes right now? 2,800 crores as of last year. That is 30% of their consolidated revenue. They were able to expand to over 120 countries across the globe, and some of their brands are number one in countries like Saudi, UAE, and Egypt. By the turn of the 21st century, Dabour had become a major player in the Indian FMCG sector, with revenues crossing 1,000 crores in 2001, and last year they did 10,800 crores overall. Dabur's biggest moat though is Dabur's distribution network. The company has a wide distribution network covering 6 million retail outlets with a high penetration in both urban and rural markets. Their rural outreach expands to about 90,000 villages. See, Dabour recognized much ahead of its competition that rural India would become a key growth driver and leveraged that very early on. During the last decade, Dabour, like any business, faced some setbacks when companies like Patanjali entered the market and threatened their market share. They realized that Patanjali is playing for the price race to the bottom. It's a game where no one makes money in the long run. So instead of competing for lowest pricing there, they focused on their moat, which was their distribution. They launched an aggressive strategy to penetrate the rural markets even further. They realized that Patanjali's attack at them and Patanjali's positioning came disguised as an opportunity. See, Patanjali was screaming Ayurveda at the top of his voice and acting like the harbingers of Swadeshi brands. Dabour used this to their benefit and launched an Ayurvedic outreach program where they set up 600 plus rural health camps, got up to 40,000 doctors on board through whom they treated patients and built awareness around Dabur's Ayurvedic offerings. They also hired rural sales promoters to deepen its rural push. This worked very well. And to further capitalize on the white spaces created by Patanjali, Dabour adopted what's called a flanking strategy. It's basically when you attack the enemy from the side or flank of the enemy instead of engaging in a head-to-head battle. See, Dabour realized that rural India wanted Ayurveda, they wanted Swadeshi brands, and wanted them at lower costs. So they launched something called flanker brands. That's essentially product extensions or sub-brands that targeted these specific market segments and consumer needs that were not being fully addressed by their main brands. For example, one of the products they launched was Dabour Badam Amla Hair Oil, which would serve as a satellite to the main brand Dabour Amla Oil. Now, through this flanking attack, three things happened. First was Dabour captured a new white space which helped Dabour grow its market share further. Secondly, it did this without cannibalizing the sales of Dabour Amla Hair Oil and while protecting the core brand identity of Dabour Amla. And thirdly, this new flanker brand would also ring-fence their current blockbuster products from future intrusions, basically protecting Dabour Amla from direct competition from Patanjali. They basically beat Patanjali at its own game. Now there's another law here that plays a big role behind all Dabur's decision. It's called the power law. So recently I was talking to a VC who was telling me that for every single business, there are going to be one or two decisions or one or two products that are going to bring disproportionately large